Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Postlethwaite.
The universe, vast, almost beyond imagination. And within each of us, a universe across which neurons travel and thoughts, memories, personalities are formed. In this spark of life, imagination, joy, grief, love, compassion reside. The human mind. It's what makes each of us unique, marvelous, fascinating, alive. And as with all things in nature, seasons come and go. The brain is susceptible to aging and disease. We've learned so much about this complex and mysterious universe, and yet we have so far to go to be able to protect and preserve. Take any 9 people, ages 65 and older. 1 will have Alzheimer's, a tragic disease causing loss of memory, confusion, incontinence, mood swings, personality changes, and death. This person is not alone in the shadows. Beyond age 75, a population that will double in the next 20 years, 3 of 9 individuals will have Alzheimer's. Since we raised our glasses for the toast just 60 minutes ago, 53 people in the United States have been newly afflicted with Alzheimer's. Every hour, another 53. And 2/3, 66%, will be women. Even worse, 45% will never be told of their diagnosis or never diagnosed. They will simply drift away from the people who love them, untreated and without hope. And while treatments are available, very few will receive them. Too many individuals and their families will know only exhaustion and sadness. Today, over 5 million people in the United States above the age of 65 suffer from Alzheimer's. In just 10 years, that number will grow by 40% to more than 7 million people. It is a national and global epidemic. Alzheimer's will affect all of us in some way during our lives. While Alzheimer's typically has its onset at age 65, schizophrenia, early signs of increased risk, can begin at the age of 12. At this early age, Eskenazi health clinicians can identify pre-first episode prodromal patients with a high degree of accuracy and treat patients long before clinical symptoms present. At this stage, treatment can be highly effective and alter the long-term clinical course and ruinous impact of this horrible disease. Untreated, it will only get worse. Like other disorders of the brain, schizophrenia is an insidious and progressive disease. With each psychotic break or episode, the individual falls deeper into the abyss, suffering devastating auditory and visual hallucinations, debilitating withdrawal, depressed mood, and cognitive impairment. Typically, just as with Alzheimer's, many individuals will never be diagnosed or treated. For too many children, dreams of being a baseball player or scientist or ballerina are replaced by nightmares. 3.5 million Americans suffer from schizophrenia. Bipolar disorder is more likely to be diagnosed and treated than Alzheimer's and schizophrenia, but just barely. And it impacts another 5.5 million people in the United States. If it were just one life, one daughter, one sister, one mother, One grandmother, we could focus all of our resources on them. Each of us knows this person. Many of us know them all too well. For it's not just one, but millions of lives suffering in the shadows. Family members of afflicted individuals, scientists, public health professionals, and medical leaders and caregivers know that this is our next great challenge. They see the coming crush of patients. They know too well the dismal diagnosis, and worse, they see the gap between what we know and what we do. Let's hear from them.
In our country, for that matter, perhaps the world, diseases of the brain do not draw the same response as other threatening health issues. 80+ million Americans may require some form of care for their brain. Some say it's a tsunami of sorts, a pandemic.
4 or 5 years ago, the Institute of Medicine reached the conclusion that we were not going to have the workforce that we hoped for to take care of these people.
It's also a very expensive disease. Alzheimer's disease in the year 2050 will cost the United States economy about $1 trillion a year in direct and indirect costs.
The most important thing we can do is focus on this crisis.
God only knows who's next. It may be the person standing next to you or one of your loved ones. All of a sudden,
The magnitude of the problem is only getting worse.
The biggest risk factor by far for Alzheimer's disease is living a long life.
The life expectancy is so much longer and has so many more problems that go along with it.
If you didn't die of a heart attack when you were 40, and you didn't die of a stroke when you were 50, and you didn't die of cancer when you were 70, now you've lived long enough for your brain to become the weakest link.
The brain is a critical organ that we're often missing in frontline primary care setting.
Their care is often fragmented across multiple parts of the healthcare system, fragmented across their community.
Mental health and physical health are inextricably linked.
This is one of the few diseases that may impact the caregiver as much, if not more, than the patient.
I work in the emergency department clinically. The saddest disease that I ever take care of is schizophrenia. And I say that not only because the effect that it has directly on the patient, but because of the way it affects their family and everybody around them.
All illness impacts not only the individual, but those who love and care for them.
Some of the saddest cases we see are a patient who's considering ending their life so that they won't be a burden on their family.
Right now, when someone has a real issue with his or her brain, it's really hard to get help.
There's been a division of mind and body in healthcare, as evidenced by patients dying 25 years earlier than the normal population.
I do believe in our society, chronic brain illness, chronic mental illnesses has a stigma and a fear attached to it. And we have to get past that.
We treat brain health as if you're sick by choice.
There's been this unwillingness, even at younger ages, to offer a diagnosis for fear of stigmatizing a young person.
Close to 50% of older adults are undiagnosed with their cognitive problems.
With Dr. Malaz Bustani and with Margie Payne and the Midtown Mental Health team, we have expertise in our community that I know that people do not know about. We could have made it a better experience for them.
When at any given time, 25% of the population is suffering from a severe mental illness in our country, we need to be talking about that. One lady told me it would have been easier if her daughter had cancer than being bipolar, because she can't share that with people.
I think I started noticing symptoms when I was 18. I was just like closing myself up in a dark room. I didn't know what I was going through.
So many people are in the shadows. Tremendous suffering. And it would just be wonderful to provide them the ability to come out of those shadows and see a beacon of light with the type of treatment and resources making them viable, healthy people.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Lisa Harris.
Thank you. So we've discussed the problem. Now let's lay out a plan to solve it. Your primary physician has a close relationship with you and an overlapping understanding of the work done by specialists. And when a physical health problem arises, these teams of physicians work together with you at the center to diagnose the problem and achieve the best outcome possible. It's a good system. It's what you expect. Yet brain health has historically been segregated in our culture and in medicine. In spite of our understanding of the mind-body connection, psychologists and psychotherapists often work independently with little interaction and rarely at the early stages of disease when the most can be done. We believe that the solution lies in fundamentally changing the way the medical system works. Most importantly, we engage those who love and care for individuals suffering from illnesses affecting the brain. We dissolve the shroud of stigma. We embrace family as caregivers, and we treat the entire family as a whole. This is just one example of how we close the gap. In this effort, we have three guiding principles: speed, personalization, and scalability. We've been here before. There's a model for speed in both research and implementation, and it happened right here in Indianapolis at Eskenazi Health. The Regenstrief Institute brought together scientists in medicine, computer science, medical informatics, as well as mathematicians and creative thinkers across an array of disciplines to create a system for retaining and instantly accessing our patients' critical medical information and medical records. Today, medical information systems are globally adopted, improving care, reducing costs, and saving millions of lives. And so our first guiding principle is speed. This is not a revolution in care that will happen, it's a revolution in care that is happening. In the Eskenazi Health System, we do a brain health screening with primary care visits. This is just one way that we reach out to identify brain disorders at the earliest stage when we have the most to offer. As a result, we've already identified previously undiagnosed cases of depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, and we're profoundly helping all of these patients and their loved ones with effective treatments early in diagnosis. Truly, our team is on the verge of something special. Our second guiding principle is personalization. This is Elizabeth. Elizabeth has Alzheimer's. Elizabeth's favorite color is blue, so we meet Elizabeth in a room that is blue. With the press of a button, the room could be orange, really, or green. But Elizabeth feels best when it's blue. Actually, Elizabeth likes the beach. Who doesn't? But Elizabeth feels most peaceful in the forest, and so our room becomes a forest. Patient personalization is critical at every turn because the human brain is so uniquely individual. Eskenazi is also unique. We've deliberately designed an environment that puts people at ease and helps us connect with our patients. Personalization, it's in our DNA. Most challenging is our guiding principle of scalability. This control room put a man on the moon 46 years ago. And this control room 3 years ago landed a rover on Mars. Imagine a control room filled with a communications team, brain scientists, therapists, specialists, instantly accessible before a crisis occurs, providing answers and support, dealing with challenges with unmatched efficiency. Imagine each patient and caregiver in direct contact on smartphones, iPads, tablets, computers, using specialized apps and the latest tools, together tracking the progress, the moods, the well-being of both patients and their caregivers. Technology for scalability is at hand, just as it was for NASA, just as it was for the Regenstrief team. And it will take an extraordinary team. Fortunately, we have one of those. At the core is Dr. Malaz Bustani. And Malaz is joined by Dr. Ellen Breyer. Malaz and Alan are assembling a growing team. Please meet some of these extraordinary people and others who are instrumental in creating this solution.
We are extraordinarily blessed to have these two scientists already in the center, already doing their work with patients at Eskenazi here in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Dr. Bustani is an incredible human being.
He has a vision to change the world, and he will do whatever it takes to get there.
He is both a scientist and, in a sense, an engineer. So he thinks about the application of new diagnostic techniques or new treatments and how they'll be brought to the bedside in a way that most scientists don't.
We can improve the quality of your life as a person suffering from Alzheimer's disease. We can reduce the burden of the symptoms of your disease. We can even take care of your family members. And we can do that with high touch, low tech. We don't do it with very expensive drug. We don't do it with a very dangerous procedure. We can do it with a bunch of psychosocial intervention and coaching and problem solving.
They look at me as being a patient as well as my mother. That always touched me. And I felt like I was included in it and that somebody actually cared about the journey that I was going on.
I felt like we'd hit the jackpot. There's a physician, there's a pharmacist, there's a nurse, there's a social worker. All of these people working on my mother's case all at the same time.
There was a vulnerable couple, a daughter and her mom. She was coming over just simply for us to stamp that her mom has Alzheimer's disease and sign the paperwork so we can send her mom to a nursing home. That was 2008. Now it's 2015. They live in their own home. The Center for Brain Care Innovation will be able to provide that bundle wherever you are, wherever you live, in the United States and even outside.
Dr. Breyer is doing things that are so meaningful. His work with early detection of schizophrenia is saving lives every single day.
With a cohort of more than 400 patients since 2009, 0 attempted suicides. In dealing with the disease that often claims double-digit early mortality as a result of self-inflicted decisions.
When you're in the midst of going through something you don't understand, you need someone with a great deal of compassion, with a great deal of care, and with a great deal of information to help you. And when our son was moving into a psychotic stage, we knew the person we needed to talk to.
Schizophrenia is an illness that starts early in life, and it robs you of the very things that make us fully productive human beings. So it's efforts like CBCI that are putting schizophrenia in its crosshairs and saying, we are going to go after this illness, we're going to be there for families and patients, and we're going to make a huge difference.
Dr. Breyer is one of a handful of people around the country who are now developing practical approaches to help young people get care that is acceptable to them early, quickly, and avoid the slide into a lifetime of disability.
The center wants to focus at that earliest point in time. That's where we can make the biggest difference. And that, I think, is what's so fundamentally important and unique about what we're doing in the center.
They talk to you, they know how you feel, they take their pride and patience. It's really helped me out a lot.
One of the things I'm excited about the center is that it's focused on the science of delivery of care, and that is desperately, desperately needed right now.
It's a heartland approach to these problems. It integrates discovery and care. It integrates brain care with the rest of medical care. It does it within an integrated delivery system that has had extraordinary leadership and results over the years, and it is going to be a remarkable breakthrough.
The most exciting things about developing the Center for Brain Care Innovation is putting together this multidisciplinary group of amazing people, both clinically and also who have different research backgrounds. We are bringing in people who have expertise in informatics. We have people who have expertise in engineering, who understand processes and flows to be able to make sure that we're as efficient as we can be.
What we have to do in this program is we have to marry that human touch, which we know we're going to need, with the technology that allows those humans to reach a lot more people.
If you have access to the highway of information technology in the 21st century, we will be able to provide you decision support to make sure you are informed when you make decisions related to your brain health, wherever you are, at your convenience time.
We want to find those things that we can have you talk to an avatar who is going to give you the answer that you need the same way that you can find out where the nearest Italian restaurant is.
The Eskenazi Health System is the absolute right place. And the reason is we've been risk takers and innovators.
The patients are waiting, the caregivers are waiting, and the technology is available.
We are hoping for cures that we don't have yet, but until we have that answer, we need to make sure that we're providing the best clinical care and clinical services that we possibly can.
It's billions of dollars being spent on the symptoms when we can spend fewer dollars on the treatment and the patient can live a happy, productive life.
Throughout the operation, nobody sees this as a job. It's not just a job, it's a mission.
The Center for Brain Care Innovation is a platform that's going to make a difference.
Our vision of the Center for Brain Care is very precise and short. Transforming brain health for all now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Gutwein and Mr. Ernie Vargo.
Friends, tomorrow we will announce to the world the creation of the Center for Brain Care Innovation. And we embark on a great journey tomorrow.
On the eve of this journey, we celebrate with you your generosity, your vision, your compassion to make tomorrow's journey possible.
Together, we can change the way the world approaches brain care. We can have an impact on millions of lives. We can eliminate that gap between what we know and what we can do. But before that announced tomorrow, we just wanted to get together with all of you to break bread with you, because you embolden us, you empower us, you inspire us, you ground us, and you are part of this journey with us.
We are thankful. Many of you helped us chart our course. Our foundation board formed a visioning committee to identify what the greatest need was in our community and beyond. Many of you worked tirelessly in the stages of research, planning, finalization to put this all together. You've challenged the Eskenazi Health Foundation to raise $50 million to support this work. And many of you here have already made early gifts. And I had the great privilege tonight of announcing a naming gift for the Center for Brain Care Innovation. Ms. Sandra Eskenazi is naming the Center for Brain Care Innovation. Sandy, please stand up.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Thank you so much. The brain, it is capable of so much. It is complex, it is resilient, it is beautiful. It is what makes you, you.
We've discussed this with many of you. You've impressed us with your stories. So many of you have shared stories of loved ones dealing with matters of brain health. It seems each of us has been touched, whether by a family member or a friend. Some of us fear our own brain care issues. Each of us has our own story to tell. Too often it is a story of sadness, a story in the shadows, but it's also a story of hope. What is your story? For whom might we be doing this?
We've had incidents of brain disease in our family, so that does evoke a personal interest and a response. And I'm grateful for the opportunity given to me to participate.
Our family's been touched, so I have a personal vested interest, but I also have this notion of accountability to the greater good.
I see it as our responsibility to create the environment where all of us, those receiving, those providing care, can flourish.
Every person on the globe can benefit from this extraordinary work, and isn't it exciting to be part of something that can change the world?
I'm doing this because I think it's the right thing to do. But personally, I'm doing this for my father-in-law, who at age 67 died from the effects of Alzheimer's disease.
I have a grandmother who lives in Pennsylvania and who has dementia as a result of end-stage Parkinson's disease. And I'm doing this work for her.
My mom had Alzheimer's disease, but she was fortunate enough to have 9 children, all of whom contributed to her care. And we want that for everyone with Alzheimer's disease, a team of people to help them through the journey.
We will be a better city if we are treating those with mental illness with the respect that they deserve. And that's why I'm doing it.
My passion is for the patients now and for the future.
What is going on at the center is exactly at the heart of what I'd like to contribute to, working hard to make sure patients with these devastating diseases get the best possible care they can.
I'm doing it for the patients who need hope for tomorrow.
Doing this for the patients that I take care of day to day in the emergency department with schizophrenia and Alzheimer's and their family members.
I'm doing this for the 5 million plus caregivers out there.
I'm doing this for all of those people that are disenfranchised, suffering.
I'm trying to do this for the people who've never been reached, who've been suffering, and yet don't know how to get the help that they need in order to have peace.
I do what I do so that people have hope, they have good care, they have high quality care, and they have their lives returned to them.
It's personal for me. I was born in Syria, a lot of my family member, relative throughout the world, and every one of them has a very precious organ called the brain. And I have to protect the brain of everyone there. I am doing this for the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, acclaimed jazz artist Kathy Morris and Dance Kaleidoscope.